Look, Chicago's amazing theater scene that we are always bragging about. It really is for everybody. I'm talking about you, your nieces and nephews, your granny, your co-workers, the entire graduating class of '05. And now's the best time to explore it because Chicago Theater Week is back, my friends. February 5th through the 15th, you can find tickets across Chicago's theaters for $30, $15 holla, and even less. Discover new stories, revisit classics, and be a part of something bigger. Chicago Theater Week 2026 is February 5th through the 15th. Get your tickets now at chicagotheaterweek.com and support your local small theater. Chicago knows how to kick off a new year, and that's with great food. That's right, Chicago Restaurant Week is back from January 23rd through February 8th. The 19th annual event produced by Choose Chicago features prefix menus. I'm talking $30 for lunch and brunch, $45 and $60 for dinner at more than 500 restaurants across the city. You can use the website to see the full list or filter by cuisine type or use the map feature. But pro tip, make your reservations as soon as possible because they go quick. Explore participating restaurants and menus at chicagorestaurantweek.com and book your tables now. Today on CityCast Chicago, it may be the shortest month of the year, but there is still plenty going on in the city. And to make sure you don't blink and miss it all, we're bringing you our guide to February. It's Monday, February 2nd. I'm Jacoby Cochran, and this is what Chicago's talking about. This month guide is brought to you by the Chicago Architecture Center, presenting the Architecture and Design Film Festival from February 19th through the 22nd. We're going to hear a little bit more about that later with our executive producer, Simone Alicea, who is in the building today.
Hey, yeah, thanks.
We've also got producer Michelle Navarro. How you feeling?
Hey, Jacoby, I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. How y'all feel about February? I feel like January, between all of the snow, the sub-zero weather, the Bears heartbreak, I don't know. It felt like it came and went pretty fast, but was pretty dreadful. But I don't know. February is one of my favorite non-summer months. What about y'all?
I feel like it should be because my birthday's in February, but that's not really how I feel, to be honest.
Such an Aquarius answer.
Winter birthdays and period is tough. I'd be laughing at TikTok videos all day long about people whose birthday is in January, February, late December, and all of their friends are just over it. They like putting on their best face possible.
Don't nobody want to go out.
Right. Nobody want to go outside.
It's cold. Don't nobody want to go outside. Like it's so hard.
Michelle, how do you feel about February, and what is something you are excited for, looking forward to this month?
February is a great month for me because it's one of my favorite holidays. I love a good Galentine's Day, and it's perfect because this year, February 13th falls on a Friday, and then Valentine's Day falls on a Saturday. So my plan is to host a Galentine's Day on that Friday, February 13th,
okay,
which is cool because it's Friday the 13th.
Good call.
I think I'm going to do like a spooky Galentine's Day.
I was going to say, yeah, like Halloween in February feels like
that feels like something you and Emmy should plan together. Her favorite holiday, your favorite holiday. Like a spooky Galentine's.
It sounds like we should be casting some spells. That seems like a very powerful,
it's feeling like
very powerful conjunction.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's going to be plenty of Galentine's things to do. Like so many restaurants do Galentine's brunch, or they'll do like a Galentine's happy hour or dinner. So definitely check in with your favorite restaurants. And Emmy put out a great guide to February in the newsletter, and she kind of gave some suggestions on places to go, places to be for Valentine's Day, you know, whether you're going on a date or not. And one of the things she listed was her article about all the different pool spots. I love playing pool. It's been my thing. Mm-hmm. More recently, I've been going a lot. And so she kind of gave a really good list of different places to shoot pool.
And spoke to like a pool expert, somebody who does this like in a league in addition to recreation. You know what I mean? Like this is a person who really knows their Chicago pool.
If you want to go to a pool hall, which I definitely recommend because there's no waiting, you don't have to play random people who won. And so Emmy listed City Pool Hall in West Loop. Never been, but I want to go. Chris Billiards, which is my favorite spot. It is super far from me, but it's always worth it. It's in Portage Park, and it's dingy, BYOB. It's fairly cheap. I love, love, love that spot. Great date spot.
I love pool as a date. I think in general, like activity dates are kind of the way to go. Like
I think Chris Village is such a cool, dingy spot. You could bring food, you could bring drinks, you could play touch tunes. So I love that. And then there's Surge, which I've also been to, a little pricier, way less tables compared to Chris's. And there's a location in Albany Park and there's a location in Logan Square. And there's, of course, plenty of bars that have pool tables.
I never get the pool table at Penny Whistle. It's always too many people in line. I will say I've gotten the pool table a couple times at like Emporium and Fulton Market. During one of the Saturday nights I've pulled up there, but agreed. And you can't really stay on too long. You feel a little pressured by all of the people around to kind of let people get in. But yeah, I haven't been to a full on, like I remember they used to have a few pool tables at the bowling alley above underneath the AMC in River East. But I haven't been to like a proper pool hall in a minute.
Our newsletter editor, Emmy Mack, has a bunch of resources. And if you are looking for something to do on Valentine's Day, maybe your first stop should be chicago.citycast.fm and finding those lists and guides, because they will be immensely helpful to your planning.
My favorite one that she also posted, besides the pool one, was if you want to stay up late,
the 5 a.m.
bars that still exist in Chicago is really cool. I don't know, maybe I'll end up at Remedy on Valentine's Day, depending how I'm feeling. I'll keep you guys posted.
Ambitious.
So, Simone, you mentioned your birthday up top and how typically, most of the homies ain't really excited to go out. But are you looking forward to your birthday this year? Anything fun planned?
Well, so today's my birthday, February 2nd. I have been so busy that I haven't thought about it at all. My boyfriend got me a ticket to a rage room. So one of those rooms that you can book to like break a bunch of stuff, which I have been wanting to do for a really long time. I don't know about you, but there's a lot to be enraged about.
I was gonna say, are you someone who thinks it's gonna be real easy to get in there and just start swinging away at the sledgehammer and breaking shit? Like,
I think it's gonna be hard for me. I think it's gonna take me a while to like warm up, because I am so contained most of the time.
What's the song you're going to be playing?
Oh my God, I haven't even thought about that.
That's the most important thing you got to figure out before you go. You have to have a playlist.
My first instinct is Alanis Morissette. You Ought to Know, because I think that's probably the angriest song I've ever actually done at karaoke. So that one comes to mind. But yeah, send me your recs for angry songs to play at the Rage Room. It's going to be, I think it's called Angry Cactus in Lakeview. And so I will report back and let you know how it went. I'm actually more worried that I'm going to injure myself, because I recently was in a karaoke room playing a tambourine and seriously bruised my wrist playing the tambourine, like hitting the tambourine against my hand, and it was like swollen for like a day.
You were feeling it.
Yeah, so I'm a little worried that I'm gonna hurt myself. That if I get too much into my body, that my body won't like it. So like I said, I'll report back. We'll see how it goes. The other thing I'm thinking about is, because my Seahawks are in the Super Bowl and Green Day is performing and Bad Bunny is performing, I kind of think I might do a Super Bowl party. But I'm also intrigued. The Ramova Theater is going to be doing, they're calling it the Benito Bowl. So they know what's up. They're doing a Super Bowl watch party there, which also looks pretty cool if you want to like get out and like do a big thing, and seems like fun. So yeah, that's kind of sort of Super Bowl birthday rage. That's kind of what's going on over the next couple weeks.
Ramova got some good events coming up. I think the day before the Super Bowl, Ghostface Killah gonna be there. I think Junie gonna be there February 20th. And then, even though it's in March, the end of the Youth Poetry Festival kicks off later this week. And the final is going to be at the Ramova. But if people want to see the preliminary rounds, see some of the quarter and semifinals, those kick off on February 7th. It's going to be at the Harold Washington Library, Columbia College, the Den Theater, Metro, Ramova Theater, and so some fantastic venues across the city.
What else are you looking forward to in February, Jacoby?
So last month, I was all puppets and playoffs. And I will say I got my money's worth. I went to the playoff game where we beat Green Bay. Top 2-3 sports moments I ever experienced in my life. And I did get out to the opening of the International Puppet Theater Festival. But this month for me is about storytelling and singing. So on the storytelling tip, I'm hosting a Black History Month storytelling workshop tonight at UIC, which I'm really excited for. I've got The Moth next week, Monday. And then later in the month, we got karaoke storytellers on the 22nd at Brando's. And so I'm going to be listening to a lot of stories. And I don't know, it's something about going out during Black History Month, like the speakers that are going to be out, the workshops that are taking place, the theater shows that are going on. And so I'm glad that I get to be out performing and listening to people across the city. And then singing. We got some powerhouse singers coming through, a lot of them Black History Month themed, including Jose James and Liz Wright, who are going to be doing a 50th anniversary tribute to none other than Marvin Gaye's I Want You. And that's going down at the Symphony Center. You've got Valencia James, who is going to be at the Old Town School of Folk Music and is doing a tribute to the history and evolution of Black music, everything from spirituals to gospel music to modern R&B. And then closing it out with a Chicago legend, Selena Johnson, is going to be at City Winery doing 3 dates at the end of February going into March. And so again, during Black History Month, I will be attending a couple of concerts around the city, a couple of shows around the city, and those are 3 performances I'm pretty excited for.
I will just to put another plug in for our guide in the newsletter. Emmy also has some other Black History Month events, particularly at our museums, and also how to maybe match those up with some free admission days.
The Field Museum has an event tomorrow from 5 to 9, Soul to Soul, celebrating 100 years of excellence. You got the Black Juried Art Collection at MSI. Chicago History Museum has Black History events taking place all month long. Paris and Black at the DuSable Black History Museum, and so much more across the city. One thing Chicago gonna talk about is our architecture. I bet any single person listening right now could probably point out a fun fact about one of our historic buildings. You done probably took your people on the riverboat tour, or at the very least, you out here shaming other people's skyline because it's not ours. Which is why it makes perfect sense that the Architecture and Design Film Festival has returned to the city for its 4th year at the Chicago Architecture Center. It's 10 films that explore architecture, design, creativity, and human connection. And we're not just talking about buildings. Themes range from graphic design to the architecture of NASA space shuttles to protected bike lanes. This year's festival is February 19th through the 22nd at the Siskel Film Center, and several of the screenings include discussions with the filmmakers who are flying in from all over the world. Find all the film trailers and ticketing information at architecture.org/filmfest. The Museum of Contemporary Photography at Columbia College Chicago is celebrating their 50th anniversary all year long. First thing you're going to want to do is stop by the exhibition MOCP at 50, Collecting Through the Decades. It's on view through May 16th, and it explores how the museum built their one-of-a-kind collection of nearly 18,000 artworks. Then mark your calendars for February 26th because they throwing a little party. Darkroom is the museum's annual benefit auction. You can experience beautiful and thought-provoking photography, meet some artists, and enjoy food and drinks from around the city. So make some time to stop by soon. You can find info about the exhibition or buy tickets to Darkroom at mocp.org. Dear CityCast listeners, today is going to be a good day, and here's why. Dear Evan Hansen is coming to the Paramount Theater in Aurora. If you've got any theater folks in your life, you have definitely heard them singing this soundtrack before, and for good reason. 6 Tonys, a Grammy for Best Musical Theater Album, national tour after national tour, and a story for every single person who just wants to be seen. A Little White Lie becomes this enormous blizzard of untruths, taking lonely, anxious teen Evan on a wild journey towards love and acceptance, even when you make mistakes. Catch Dear Evan Hansen February 4th through March 22nd at Paramount Theater in Aurora. You do not want to miss this deal. Get your tickets today at ParamountAurora.com. Michelle, what's your tip for February?
So it's crazy to think that spring is next month, even though, I mean, in Chicago, that doesn't mean much. It's still going to be cold. But that means that, people are still going to be in need of sweaters, jackets, other home and clothing goods. And so I say get a head start on spring cleaning. Look at your closet. If in the last 2 months you haven't touched a sweater, you should probably just get rid of it. Mm-hmm. And instead of finding a place to put it away in your storage, just so you can just put it away and then not wear it again next year, this is the perfect time to start, looking at the things you haven't touched and find a new home for it. Borderless has a really good resource guide that they put out last month in January, where it lists a bunch of different places you can check out. I know one of them that, luckily they've gotten so much stuff that they had to pause donations, but in February they're starting to accept donations again. And that's El Mercadito Gratis, which is the Pilsen Pantry's free store. So it's where people can shop, quote unquote shop, which just means they can go in, they can get multiple items. And
basically like a normal shopping experience, but the products are free. You don't have to pay a bill at the end.
They will be accepting donations again starting this month. And there's a couple things that they need. Of course, look at your closet, see what you don't need. You should email them. They asked if you email for donations so they can schedule that and they can make sure that someone's at the shop to accept your donations. But they listed a couple of things that they actually are looking for. So they're looking for kitchenware, blenders, pressure cookers, cutting boards, pots, pans, cups, glasses, and other kind of housewares like bath towels, sheets, blankets. So if you're looking to get rid of gently used bedding, things like that, email them. I think that's a big thing too. I think sometimes people show up with a bunch of donation stuff and no one's there to accept it. So definitely check in with these different places before you make the trip. There's also Cradles to Crayons, which partners with New Life centers, and they offer free coats to children across Chicago. So I definitely recommend going on the site and seeing what's your closest location where you can, drop things off. There's also Task Force Chicago, which is a clothing closet. There's the Albany Park Mutual Aid Network. So there's a bunch of places. I definitely, again, recommend looking at Borderless's resource guide. That's where you'll find a bunch of different places. That's one tip for me, is to avoid putting all these things away that you won't even touch next year and just find a new home for them.
And avoid the any sort of goodwill rush, right? Because I think there's a lot of that in the spring when the weather turns and people are getting rid of those old winter clothes. Like if you do it a little earlier, you can actually still help someone when they need it most and, get ahead on some of your tasks as well.
I'm glad that you mentioned this because we were talking a lot about this in December and January. I did go through my closet. Me and Taylor got rid of a whole bunch of stuff. We took it over to a church nearby us, and we had called ahead, and they were like, "Please bring it over right now. We will be here." But you mentioned bedding and stuff. We just bought a bunch of new sheets because we needed something that just fit better. And honestly, we just put the old sheets in the closet, and we didn't use them a lot. And so we just sort of put those away. And also with our kitchen utensils, between both of us, we got a bunch of old forks, pots and pans that our parents gave us or that we combined our stuff together. And so we now have a bunch of overflow. And again, we just sort of stack them on top of each other, put them in the cabinets.
And you just never use it, right? It just stays in the back of the cabinet.
Never use it. It's a bunch of choppers and knife sets and extra forks and pots and pans and a bunch of things that we've really, to your point, just sort of found a drawer for them, found a cabinet for them, and just put them there. And I honestly never think about donating kitchenware. For me, my biggest tip for people is remember we are still celebrating the new year all February long, even if you are not saying Happy New Year to every single person you see, because Chinese New Year falls on Tuesday, February 17th. We're in the year of the horse, which is also the same day as Mardi Gras, aka Fat Tuesday. A bunch of carnivals are happening around the world
Again,
on
this
February
is a
17th.
witchy time right now. I am telling you, the energies right now,
February 17th
they're happening.
is really popping off. So you got the Argyle Lunar New Year celebration that's going on and the parade that's taking place this month. You got the Chinatown Lunar New Year parade that's happening at the end of the month on Sunday, March 1st. And then a bunch of other events that are taking place in and around the city from not only local museums, local restaurants doing deals, during cooking opportunities, cooking classes. And so, yeah, I love the Chinatown Lunar New Year parade, and I'm hoping to get out there at the start of March. All right, so we've talked about it, a lot of events, things we're excited for, but a lot of y'all pull up to listen to the news with us, to sift through the news. And Simone, what's that story you're going to be paying attention to this month?
Yeah, I think one thing that I want to see how this unfolds and what we see in Chicago are these changes to SNAP benefits that went into effect February 1st. So we talked about this a little bit during the government shutdown when obviously there was sort of an acute issue, right? The SNAP benefits that were not being paid out because of the shutdown and then the catch up of like, okay, they were going to pay them out, right? But there was a period where a bunch of people like didn't have access, or it was very unclear as to if they were going to have access to those SNAP benefits. And, we talked a lot about it then, and there was so much organizing around food pantries and, mutual aid efforts and people finding ways to feed their neighbors. But, I think we kind of maybe on the back burner forgot or like hadn't totally processed that there is a larger change that is coming into effect that is still going to affect hundreds of thousands of Illinoisans. The estimate is around 340,000 Illinois residents at risk of losing their benefits. And those changes come from last year's big funding bill, right? And they adjusted the work requirements. So they raised the age of the recipient. So like, it used to be, I think 50, 54, 55. Now it's 64. So, you're sort of required longer to be working. And they also lowered the age of dependents. So like if you're somebody who, it used to be that if you had dependents who were any dependents under 18, you could be exempt from those work requirements, but now your dependents have to be 14 or younger. And so that means there's a wide swath of people who previously weren't required to work, volunteer, do these 80 hours a month to get their benefit that now will be required to. And so that's kind of an issue on a couple different levels. One, there's sort of the administrative issue of just like, people not knowing that their benefits are going to change and there's a lapse there. The bigger issue is just sort of like, there are lots of reasons why people don't work, but still need food benefits, right? Whether that is because you are some kind of a caregiver in your home, right? Someone else in your home or yourself. There are still exemptions for like disability and stuff, but I think, sometimes what that range is and what still requires you to like be home caring for somebody or something like that, right? There's a gap there. And so food pantries and food advocates have been warning about this for a really long time. But now it's actually happening. And so we're going to start to see, I think, some of those knock-on effects. I will be curious to see what this means for our food pantries in Chicago, if we will see that level of sustained organizing like we saw when the problem was more acute and widespread. And curious to see, again, we also have the legislative session going on in Springfield right now, right? SNAP is one of those things that like the state can't just like pick that up. You know what I mean? Like we're talking a lot of money for food benefits, but will the state act in some way, shape, or form to try to backfill or to add on to what they already do when it comes to food benefits?
One story I'm going to be watching is how Chicago Public Schools continues to adjust to the threat of growing immigration rates in the city. We saw from last year into the top of this year how chaotic these operations could be, not only in neighborhoods across the city, but particularly, outside of schools, outside of daycare facilities. And right now, Jackson Potter, the vice president of the Chicago Teachers Union, wants to come back to the bargaining table to get CPS to create not only more clear guidelines for what school administrators can and cannot do, what students, what type of resources teachers and staff can provide for students, but also to encourage making remote learning an option that schools and principals can utilize for students who are either vulnerable themselves, whose school building sits in a neighborhood or an intersection that has seen operations taking place nearby. The concern here from some within CPS is that this is not fully within their authority to make this call, that it would require state law to change, to shift responsibility on who can institute remote learning away from the governor to the district, and then again further down to school principals and school leaders. And I mean, there is no sense right now that the state wouldn't be willing to explore this, but at one point, politicians did urge the governor to take this up back in October when these operations were picking up in the city, and there was no formal attempt to pass that authority down. And so I'm interested to see, as the threats remain, that raids, which never ended, and operations that never ended in the city, could could pick back up. We could see thousands more agents return to the city, and those operations swell to the type of point we saw maybe in October and November.
Yeah, well, and I think also taking cue from what is going on in Minneapolis.
Exactly.
In Minneapolis, many schools did go to remote learning, right? And whether that was universal remote learning or remote learning for kids who may be affected. There was sort of as I understand it, sort of, I think, a both and over the past few weeks as there. So I'm curious if, having seen it happen there, if that maybe makes it more palatable. Because when you think back to the COVID remote learning, kind of what happened there is we had this public health emergency declaration, right? And that was sort of what sent kids to at-home learning. I think obviously, there's a real safety issue here, particularly in these operations where we had issues here in Chicago, and then it's in Minneapolis sort of even more pronounced, of going door to door, or tear gas flooding streets, or shootings, whatever the case might be, where you have these violent operations being undertaken in sensitive areas like schools, right? And in neighborhoods, and obviously that's a public safety issue. That is a like primary thing to protect kids from. On the other hand, I fear, right, there was a lot of research to suggest that remote learning is not good for kids. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't serve them, especially for long periods of time, especially for English language learners, right? Who are probably among the kids who would be most affected and who would be most likely to go to remote learning. Again, I don't think that means it's a bad idea, but I do fear for what this means for kids, that their schooling is being interrupted like this, right? That they aren't able to be in a classroom with their friends and their teacher and actually, doing the business that is their business, which is learning, right? And what kind of long-term effects that could have on these kids. And, right, in addition to everything else that is going on, like I do worry about that.
Yeah. And I think given the uncertainty of how long an operation may last, when agents may or may not move into the city at large or into a particular neighborhood, what would be beyond, of course, protecting young people who are directly impacted, whether it's their family members are being targeted, their neighborhood, their school community is being targeted. But if you feel like you need to provide the entire school community with the option, or a day or a week, sort of what are you looking at to sort of make those decisions on when do we activate remote learning and when do we come out of it, versus simply offering it to people on an individual level? I am glad that the teachers union, the district, will hopefully be coming together to try to ask some of these difficult questions, because I think everyone accepts this is unprecedented territory for CPS and for Chicago public school families. And so I think we should be asking the hard questions of, like,
well, what solutions do we provide? And for some schools, that looks like walking school buses, right? Or this idea that staff members, parents, students are walking to and from school together, making sure that young people aren't by themselves or that vulnerable parents aren't sort of outside of schools, being left sort of out in the open to these agents. And so I'm glad they're trying to come together to figure out what type of policy decisions do we need to be making? What type of what ways can we be protecting students in the classroom and outside? How can we be thinking about their families? Like, that's important. But to your point, Simone, the solution is going to be really difficult to come to. We love to end these episodes with something we are looking forward to eating and drinking this month. Simone, you are taking us back to February 17th.
Yeah, well, you mentioned Mardi Gras, and of course in Chicago in particular, for us, it's Pączki Day. If you are somehow unfamiliar with this delightful Polish dessert, you got to get familiar and get your orders in early because, bakeries do sell out. And this is the sort of filled donut-like delight that that Polish communities bake to celebrate Mardi Gras, to celebrate Fat Tuesday and to ring in the Lenten season. And ever since you and I tried them, Jacoby, and did a taste test a few years ago, like, I have been a Pączki convert. Like,
100%.
It is superior to a regular donut. It really is. It's richer. That filling, that icing. The place I really liked was Pączki Cafe, way out, I think, in like Dunning. It's way out on the northwest. Norwood Park, way out on the northwest side.
That Laramie Bakery one from up in Belmont Cragen was what was that?
Yeah, that was really good too. I think Delightful Pastries does a lot up in Jefferson Park. Yeah, there are plenty of places to find it. But I would get your orders in early.
I'm on Laramie Bakery and Deli's website right now. First thing you see, Pączki Day 2026, family owned and operated since 1986. Shop now. They tell you to there's an order form. Download the PDF. Fill it out. What you want? You want strawberry and cheese? You want blueberry jelly? What you want? Nutella, strawberry and chocolate mousse? They got it for you, but you got to get your orders in now. So, yeah.
I like the fruity ones. I like lemon.
100%.
I do like the rose ones too. That would be my take. Personally, I'm not as much of like a creamy sweet. Like, that's not so much my thing. But yeah, you do you.
All right, Michelle, what about you?
Something I'm looking forward to eating this month is you go to a restaurant that's been around, but I haven't. And it is El Che Steakhouse and Bar. Jacoby, you know how much I love Bracero. Bracero
Yes.
in West Town. That's one of my
I just went
favorite
a month ago.
restaurants.
So good.
Lucky. So Bracero and El Che, they're sister restaurants, and their chef won Chef of the Year at the 2026 Jean Monche Awards. And so that got me curious. I'm like, oh my God, I love Bracero so much. I need to try El Che since they are doing such good work. And so maybe I can like go to the bar. I'm thinking of just like going one day, going to the bar and doing like their happy hour. They have the Bracero Caipirinha, which is like my favorite drink at Bracero. And so it'll let me get that. But I also want to try some of they had a prickly pear paloma last time I looked at their menu, which I love prickly pear and I love paloma. And they have a mate mule. So their drinks definitely caught my attention. But of course, I just want like a big, fat, juicy steak. And so I might treat myself to that in the month of February. Because again, I mean, they were given this really amazing award. And so if he is doing excellent work at Bracero, I'm sure he is doing just as good as a job at El Che. So that's definitely a spot that I will be hitting up this month.
I don't know if there's a single Chicago dish that I see more on my For You page than their grilled shellfish platter, with the butter, and they got the fries in it. They bring the platter out and they just like spread the entire butter over.
I didn't even know that was from there.
They got like shrimp and scallops and oysters and yeah, I feel like that is one of the
their Mar de Plata
dishes, and yeah, that's one of the dishes I see the most. All right, so one place I have been wanting to check out, and people have written a bunch of stories on them, is Sound Cafe in Austin. Now, I'm not really a huge coffee shop person, but I will go out and check out their baked oatmeal or their breakfast sandwich. But I'm mostly interested because The shop, which opened up back in November, is in the same building that used to be the home of New Sound Gospel Record and Tapes, which closed about 20 years ago. And so it's part coffee shop and part homage to the history of Black music, specifically modern gospel in Chicago. Names like Mahalia Jackson, of course, stand out to people. We did an episode on the history of modern gospel, figures like Thomas Dorsey, Mahalia Jackson, the staple singers. And so for this to be both what feels like a living museum to Chicago gospel music and, you know, a much welcome coffee shop in Austin is pretty cool. So I want to get over there and show them some love.
That's cool. I'm looking at the coverage Block Club did on them, and it looks beautiful inside. I haven't heard of this spot, but it looks like such a great space.
I want to give a huge thank you to our executive producer, Simone Alicea. Always a good time.
Hey, thanks, Jacoby.
And our producer, Michelle Navarro.
Thanks, Jacoby.
Actually, Simone ain't going nowhere because she's having a conversation sponsored by the Chicago Architecture Center.
Hey, executive producer Simone Alicea here. We all know Chicago loves its architecture, and this month you can watch it on screen. The Architecture and Design Film Festival is back for its 4th year, happening February 19th to February 22nd at the Chicago Cultural Center and the Gene Siskel Film Center. I'm joined by Adam Rubin, the Senior Director of Public Engagement at the Chicago Architecture Center, and he's going to talk to us all about it. Welcome back, Adam.
Thanks for having me, Simone.
So this is the 4th year the Architecture and Design Film Festival has come to Chicago. What keeps bringing it back here?
I think what keeps bringing the film festival back to Chicago is we have the best audience to talk about architecture and design.
I believe it.
Yeah, having conversations about our buildings and our heritage of architecture is something that's really baked into part of being a Chicagoan that really doesn't compare to any other city. So we're the perfect audience for a film festival about this subject.
I do feel like Chicago is a city that has a higher concentration of people who know what postmodernism is than any other city.
Hopefully that means they've taken one of our walking tours or our river cruise. So we, try to make all of the subject matter of architecture and the built environment something that's conversational and approachable for everyone. So it's possible we know a little bit more about postmodernism than anywhere else.
That's just my theory. In addition to like the architecture itself, the beauty of the buildings, how they were made, the styles. This year's films also touch on things like sustainability, housing, community resilience. Why do those themes feel especially important right now?
I think what's going on right now is the public is getting more familiar with how to talk about these themes. They're showing up everywhere. Everybody is talking about climate change. Everybody is talking about resilience or housing or any of the other things that cities and really communities all over are dealing with. So having films that discuss these topics is really critical right now because it brings people into the conversation and makes them feel included and a part of it, and not just thinking that this is a conversation that happens behind closed doors in think tanks, places that have smart people discussing difficult things. These are topics that we all get to participate in, and the film festival really makes it accessible.
I know this is the hardest question I'm going to ask you today, and it's probably like picking a favorite child, but what's the one film we can't miss? What's one film if you had to pick?
I think a film that rises to the top for me is a film called Changing Lanes. It's a film by a filmmaker named Ben Wolf out of New York City. And he follows the story of a school teacher in Brooklyn, New York, who was unfortunately killed in a hit and run accident on McGinnis Boulevard in New York, which for anybody who knows the city knows it's a really busy thoroughfare and a dangerous one. And he not only talks about the community coming together after the fact to advocate for safer roads, he really goes into the history of roads and infrastructure in cities and paints this picture that helps us understand that roads weren't always designed for just cars and nobody else. They were designed to accommodate pedestrians and cyclists and streetcars and a real eclectic mix of different ways of getting around. So buying into the narrative that everybody needs to get out of the way of cars is really kind of called out as a fallacy, and that we all deserve to be safe and we all deserve streets that are designed for a lot of different ways to get around. So Changing Lanes feels personal and feels timely. It helps that I'm also a cyclist who has young kids who I'd like to also be safe as they learn to cycle around a city. So I think a film like this can really plant those seeds and bring people together to understand how critical bike safety is.
We're hearing that kind of conversation happening in Chicago every single day. Is there a particular date and location where folks can catch Changing Lanes?
Sure, that one's going to play on Saturday, February 21st at the Gene Siskel Film Center. It's going to screen at 3:15 in the afternoon. And we're going to have the filmmaker Ben Wolf there to discuss his work and how his film about New York City is relevant to Chicago and cities and communities all over.
Well, that's one film not to miss, but there are plenty more at the Architecture and Design Film Festival. Adam, thanks so much again for being here and talking to me about it.
It was a pleasure. Thank you.
So the place to find that list of films, times, days, and locations is at architecture.org/filmfest. And you can get your tickets now to the film festival, which is happening February 19th to the 22nd. We're also going to have that link for you in the show notes as well.
Before we get out of here, you know I got some good news. Shout out to one of my favorite open mics in the city. The Big Kid Show is back February 5th at Dorian's. You can be a judge. You can just watch. You can sign up to perform in the show. Shout out to Rage. Shout out to Toaster. Shout out to DJ Cash Era, who's going to be in the building. As always, I appreciate y'all for making time, for listening. Put us on with your friends and family. We're going to be back bright and early tomorrow. We'll talk to you then. Happy Black History Month.
You haven't made a reservation for Valentine's Day, Jacoby?
Your mama ain't made reservations for Valentine's Day. It's January 30th.
The face you just... At first I was like, oh, did Jacoby freeze?
That's a great blooper, G.
It's going to get you in trouble, though.
I have not. What?
Did you ask Taylor to be your Valentine, though? Oh, brother, get a load of this guy. Get a load of this guy. That should have been my tip. That should have been my tip.
I was going to do it on the first. I can't do it on the first.
Yeah, that's cool.